Hey everybody. So in this video we are going to talk a little more detail about simple epithelium. Specifically we're going to talk about simple squamous, simple cuboidal, and simple columnar epithelial tissue, their functions and some of their locations. Again, for this section here, this is not the end-all be-all. You could find many of these cells in locations other than where I'm going to describe them. So if you want to look at these in more detail, you're more than welcome to look into that a little more detail and to have a better understanding of where and why we find these cells where we do. So to begin here, we're going to talk about simple squamous epithelium. And one of the things we want to begin with is just talking about these cells and, thinking about their size and structures. So why are they the shapes they are? And why is that important for their function? So with that said, the size and shape of these cells are usually dictated by their function. So if you're going to look at something like this here, where we see simple epithelium, simple squamous epithelium, we're going to see things that are flat and thin, and therefore, because they're smaller, typically they have less material in them, less energy to build them, and they have a function that is important that they are flat, such as diffusion. All right, so in this situation here, you're going to see a lot of diffusion occurring in these tissues. So locations such as the lungs or the kidneys are places where we're going to see a ton of diffusion of gases and liquids. Therefore, they're easily able to move in and out of these tissues because they're so thin. That said, as mentioned a second ago, we're going to see these in places like the alveolus of the lungs and the Bowman's capsule of the kidney because there is a lot of diffusion occurring in those locations. Therefore, thin tissues make it easy for that to happen. Another location that you can see here in the middle of the screen, the endothelium of capillaries. Again, because diffusion in and out of those tissues, they're so thin. We move up to simple cuboidal tissues. These tissues are a little bit thicker and have a few characteristics that define them. These are ones we don't typically talk too much about because you don't see them regularly in class for a variety of reasons. But a few major characteristics of cuboidal tissue is that they are very important for absorption of um, certain molecules in the body, but they are also important for secreting different hormones in the body or different substances. So we're going to see these in things like glands as well. So again, going back to epithelium, they're important for a couple of reasons. One, they line the body, but two, they help create glands throughout the body. So you can see these in a few locations, one of them being parts of the kidney, as well as things like different glands, like sweat glands, where we're going to secrete sweat from those glands. So that's one more reason why cuboidal is important, because they are used for absorption as well as secretion of certain materials. Next up, simple columnar. Columnar epithelium are going to be these column shapes, and we see these a little more often than cuboidal in what we talk about in this course. And with that said, you may see a defining characteristic such as the ciliated apical end of the cell, meaning the tops of these cells may be ciliated. All right. So with that said, we can see these doing things such as absorption in the body. And we can find these all throughout the body. As you can see in these couple examples here, you may see them in places like the digestive tract, which runs the entire inside of your body, as well as places like the uterine wall. So with that said, you guys are welcome to look at these cells in a little more detail to find some more locations and functions for each of these simple epithelium.